Hey, Gnome here, Server X160, the best in the West. Here to kind of talk about a new clan that should be popping up tomorrow. It's the Kojiki clan. It's a mage class. We're going to look at the male and the female, kind of make some predictions, talk about some potential synergies and other champions that would go well with them, as well as potential traits that they could use. We're just going to brainstorm. I've only really looked at them once real quick, so let's walk through this together. All right, so here's the male. He looks really awesome. He's kind of got something similar to the Shun clan with his belt, like the front of his belt there. Looks like he's got a scroll similar to the Shun clan, and then like a little jug of water there. And then he's got this like shawl or sash that kind of floats around him a little bit there, along with hair that seems to seem like it's getting hit by the wind when it's not. And he's kind of got a crown going on with the big old beads with a tattoo on his shoulder. It looks really cool. I feel like there's maybe some recycled art in here, maybe in the accessories, but we'll check that out later. Here, let's do the preview. Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess he uses like some wind. So maybe that's why his hair is going all nuts. And he shoots out some orbs, so it looks really cool. Nice preview. Let's see what his abilities are. First of all, mage, so he's going to be heavy in strength progression, and then followed by con and fortitude. Oh, I could swap over to the female right up here. I don't have to go out. I never knew that. The button at the top right. That's nice. Okay, cool. So we can go over the male and the female. Let's go ahead and look at her real quick. Her belt looks way cooler. She's got some floating orbs similar to like the Ho clan with the fire. She's got the scroll as well. Arm tattoo with her little pauldrons under it, the hair going crazy. Yeah, she looks really cool too. I think I like her look a little more. She looks fun. But anyhow, let's get back to the abilities. So the male's passive is called Draft of Camaraderie. Randomly links to an allied champion, back row prioritized. So it's going to either prioritize P4 or P5. It's not going to do a random allied champion. It's a specific one. So you can put somebody in that slot that you want this link to happen with. As long as the link exists, both champions have their attack speed increased by 30%. Both of them. That's including him. Nice. 30%'s a ton. That's like an agile or a rapid shot. Like, that's really significant. And damage dealt is increased by 25%. Well, dang, that's pretty good too. Like a fierce. When the champion heals, the linked ally will also receive 35% of the healing amount. So anytime this guy gets heals, the linked guy is also getting it. So if you paired him up with a male water and sun, say male water and sun's in one slot of the back row and he's in the other one, anytime male water and sun pulses and heals this guy, male water and sun will heal himself again, not only with the wave of his ultimate, but also with 35% of what he healed this fella. That's pretty awesome. The recovery effect is normal healing. Okay, so nothing special about the healing. When the link ally dies, the spell will link champion with another allied champion. Okay, so if someone dies, then he'll keep his link going for the whole battle, and it's not a wasted skill, which is nice, because that would suck if the person you're trying to focus on dies and then he just lost it. That would be a bummer. Okay, so let's look at his active. Suppress magic circle. That sounds pretty cool. All right. Creates a magic circle at the caster's location. Okay, so in the back row probably. And furthest enemy target's location. That's 5 seconds. So 2 circles, one in the farthest enemy. So it's going to probably hit their back row. Or if you have a male Ascavar, could potentially hit their whole team. So you think of that synergy a little bit real quick. Enemy targets within it take damage equal to 150% of the caster's strength per second. So it's for 5 seconds. That's 300. So that's 750% strength damage over 5 seconds for an active. That's significant amount of damage. So if you did want to focus with this guy as a damage dealer instead of, because remember, he gets attack speed also, and he's healing up, so you could potentially kind of also make him a high damage dealer instead of just a healer. And will be inflicted with silence. So listen to this. That silence is for 5 seconds. That's a long time. Not only that, imagine pairing him with female polar bear, female Bjorn Krieger. He would essentially be, she would be pulling everybody in, and then he's going to put a circle down that could potentially silence their whole team for 5 seconds while dealing 750% strength damage. And that's per unit. So imagine if it hits the whole team. 5 enemies with silence for 5 seconds and 750% strength damage to each one. That's really significant damage and utility. Allies within have their damage dealt increased by 20% as well. That's really nice. Say you have this guy on a Askavarg Segarak team. So you get everybody on top of each other with the Askavarg. The Segarak's in there. This guy casts his circle, so not only does it silence everybody, hits them for a lot of damage, but also the Segarak gets his damage increased by 20%. Also imagine if you have a Scarlet. So Scarlet, Askavarg, Segarak, this fella. The Scarlet, the Askavarg, and the Segarak would all get the damage dealt increased by 20%. You know, right? Perfect time for their ults, too. And it also lasts for 5 seconds. 20% increased damage for 5 seconds in this game is really good. All right, let's look at the main ultimate. Breeze of Resuscitation. Cast the spell continuously, so he channels. Restoring the champion's constitution by 60% of their max for 4 seconds. So that's over 4 seconds. So I'm guessing it's 15% a second, like basically a pulse kind of thing. And it's for 4 seconds. 60% of max constitution is significant. Restoring the champion's of their max. Okay, so I'm guessing it's the whole team. The recovery effect is true healing, which is unaffected by any debuff, but is affected by recovery prevention effects. While channeling, the champion becomes immune to control effects, and the damage taken is reduced. Okay, so he channels, becomes like a pillar or a stone. He takes less damage, and he can't be CC'd for 4 seconds. And he restores everybody. So I'm guessing it's kind of similar to the female Water and Sun. Am I getting this right? She kind of does the same thing a little bit, but way less healing. So he's like way ramped up female Water and Sun kind of. Okay, so let's. This guy's pretty awesome. So it sounds like though, he's mostly utility. The only damage he does is with his active. So maybe not putting brutal on him might be the way to go. Because he gets increased attack speed and he links to somebody. So he basically gets 30% extra attack speed all game. And damage dealt is increased by 25%. So one thing you could do is put an attack debuff on him. Say enfeebling, tardiness, some of the new ones that reduce healing. I think it's called Harsh Rhyme from the Akuna clan. You could just get something like that because he will be attacking faster. Now, I think the damage dealt increase is more for the ally that he's linked with because you're going to want to make it a big hitter. Because I don't know if I'd want to, waste the slot with Brutal because the only thing that scales off of his strength, because look, his ult goes off max con of the allies. And then suppress magic circle is the only thing that scales off of his strength. And it's a big hit. It's almost like an ultimate, honestly. For some of the older champions, that would be an ultimate. But I don't know. I get nervous about that when you can use that for another trait. Let's go to the female. We saw her preview. She's got all these orbs flying around. So the male is a healer and utility. He buffs one of your allies. He buffs all your allies. He heals all your allies. And he has some defense capabilities. Let's look at her. Gathering Storm, her passive. Enters the battle with 6 neutral orbs. I'm guessing that's the orbs around her. Oh, excuse me. I'm guessing that's the orbs around her. And whenever an ally or enemy casts a skill, summons an amplifier orb at its location. So that's ally or enemy. That means while you don't want to prevent your enemies from using their skills with her. So somebody I would already suggest is Mel Dawnbreaker. Because Mel Dawnbreaker is a reaction to an enemy using a skill. And so that might go pretty well with hers. It summons an amplifier orb at its location. For every amplifier orb summoned, the champion restores 40 energy and gains a permanent shield with a health equal to 1.5% of their max constitution. Wow. Let's talk about this a second. For the champion, so she restores 40 energy. So let's just say all 5 of you and the enemies are all casting actives around the same time. So that's 10 total. So that's 400 energy approximately whenever actives are kind of going off in a battle. If it's just a 1v1 without too much rolled over energy. And gains a permanent shield with a health equal to 1.5 of their max con. So you're going to maybe want her with energetic because her little shields add up, and it says permanent shield, by the way. So no duration on it. It's like the perma shield for female Akuna. 1.5. So if there's wow, that's really good. So if 10 are summoned, that gives her 15% of her max con shield just when the actives go off. When ultimates kind of go off, there's another, 15% of her max con. And it's a permanent shield. So if she's in the back row and not getting hit, this thing is just stacking up the whole time. So one potential I'm seeing with this is having her in the P1 position and having male Esterier, the tank, in the P2 or P3 position, and then he makes her immune. So that means she'll be able to retain her shield. He could potentially make her immune for 5 seconds with his active. And that means that she would get to keep her shield. She would restore all the energy like she's just gaining up during the thing. And we'll see what her ultimate is, why she needs all this energy. But for every orb summoned, she's just gaining this permanent shield. She's gaining energy. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I like her build-up so far. Her passive seems like it's going to... And she's gaining energy. So not many champs we have, honestly, gain a ton of energy. So she seems like an energy manipulator so far. Let's see. Tearing Cyclone. Creates a cyclone in the most crowded area that lasts for 3 seconds. Okay, crowded area. So this is saying she might be good for bunching up the enemy team with her active. Allies within the cyclone restore 70 energy per second. Damn! That's 210 energy if they're in there all 3 seconds. While enemies within the cyclone take damage equal to 160% of the caster's strength per second. So that's 3 seconds. That's 480% of her strength per enemy in the cyclone. And again, it could hit all 5 of your enemies. So, but not nearly as good as the male's active, if you ask me. The male's active really is pretty awesome. 3 seconds later, summons an amplifier orb at each unit's location within the cyclone. Oh, okay. So I think it's like when the cyclone ends is what they meant to say. Because unless it's the cyclone lasts for 3 seconds, and then you have to wait for 3 seconds before the orbs appear. I don't know how that's going to work. We'll have to test that. But if it just appears at the end of the cyclone, that's awesome, because 3 orbs, remember with the passive, that's 120 energy, and 3 orbs would be 4.5% of max constitution shield, just right there from using her active. Oh, at each unit's location within the cyclone. It says each unit's. So I'm guessing that's allies and enemies. So again, if you stack all your enemies up, she could potentially get 10 amplifier orbs out of that kind of stack up. So I'm already digging her for a stack up the enemy team kind of setup. Not to mention, your team needs to, maybe has some pure hearts on it, and you just need to get those ults off, so you need to get them energy, because look, her active gives energy, she gains energy from just her passive, so she is an energy queen right now, and I like it. Let's look at her ult. This is what we've all been waiting for. Surge of Hurricane. Maybe Surge of the Hurricane, I don't know. Awakens all orbs. Whoa, so if you have a bunch on the battlefield, here they go. Each randomly applying one of the following effects, either to an ally or an enemy. So I'm guessing that's across the whole battlefield. So say you have 20 orbs, then there's going to be 20 random effects applying to allies or enemies. So for allies, the orb restores 40 energy, so there's more energy gain, and reduces the duration of control effects inflicted upon them by 20% for 6 seconds. That's really good. Anytime you can reduce CC, especially right now where the meta is focused more on CC, I think. People are getting more wins. I'm getting more wins with CC. In fact, I changed up my whole main team a little bit. It's kind of crazy. For enemies, the orb deals... Oh, and it stacks up to 3 layers. So if one of your champs happens to get 3 of the random orb effects, it could be up to 60% reduced control effects duration for 6 seconds, which is awesome. So think of male polar bears, ult off, and then female tide raiser hits you with an 8-second stun. You get 60% of that 8-second stun off. So that's like, you know, almost 5 seconds off of that thing. So it becomes a 3 seconds. That's 3 seconds is bearable. No pun intended. But 8 seconds, that'll be a team wipe. So for enemies, the orb deals damage equal to 160% of the caster's strength and drains 40 energy. Looky what we have here. A mage with energy drain. I like that. Let me tell you why. Because I've been wanting to pair up an energy drainer with female Almat now for a long time. I've been slowly leveling male Yiv. I've been slowly leveling, or I have female Goltung at 15 stars, but she just, her survivability isn't that great, and maybe I will still put her with female Almat, but this is what I wanted right here. So if you make sure your female Almat uses her ult before this champion, then every orb that affects an enemy will drain an extra 60 energy, meaning that it will drain 100 energy per orb. So if 3 orbs attach to an enemy, they're going to lose 300 energy. That is so significant. That's enough for you to get the advantage and to wipe the enemy team. So that's really good. Amplifier orbs will be consumed by the ultimate skill. Neutral orbs won't. So she always has her 6 neutral orbs. So basically the minimum of her ult. So if she just starts a battle and ults right away, she's going to at least get 6 orbs. So that's kind of how they did that. So it's, for instance, if you look at the male Silken Crown, when you start a battle, if he has full energy, he doesn't even use his active to put down a web. He comes in and uses his ult, which has 0 effect. So with that, you don't want much energy gain on your male Silken, because you don't want him ulting right at the very beginning of the game, because it just wastes his ult. It sucks. I wish that they would have done a minimum mechanism like they just did with her Surge of Hurricane. Therefore, that would have prevented that situation. Like, right as the spider comes into the game, he puts down a web, and that supersedes his ultimate, so that he would always at least have one web out no matter what. And see, they fixed that with her, and I like that a lot. So let's talk about this a little bit. Her passive is utility and defensive, dealing with energy, and it scales off max constitution. Her active is energy to your allies, and then strength damage to enemies. So that scales off of strength, adds more orbs. The final one is the ultimate, where each orb does a % damage of the strength and drains energy from the enemy. And for allies, it gives energy and reduces control effects. So what I really like about that is 160 per orb. What if you have out 20 orbs and there's only one enemy standing? And like, a lot of them would hit your team, yes, but they'd gain energy for the next battle and be ready to go. And then the cool part would be any that hit the enemy. Say you get 5 that hit the enemy, that's 3 out of 5. That's 800% of the caster's strength, and it would drain 200. And if you have female Almat, it would drain 500 energy from the enemy. Like, can you see how she's going to scale insane with female Almat's ult? And before, I like to get female Almat's ult off for the reduction in damage. But now I'm going to put Pure Heart on her. And I think I'm going to have a female Ho in the group as well. So I'll put female Almat in the P1 position. I'll put female Ho probably in the P3 position, where I like to put her. And then she will add the energy, 250 energy, to the female Almat over 5 seconds. Female Almat will have more energy than who she's attacking, so her attack speed will go it'll go nuts. And then she will be able to probably proc Pure Heart and get her ult off before the 10-second mark just about every time. And I also like to have Agile on her anyways, because you want her to attack as fast as possible, even when her passive isn't going. So what I'm thinking is, let's talk some team synergy, and then we'll talk traits, okay? That sounds fun. Let's create a new roster. Just check it out. Something down here. We'll do this one. Roster 22. All right. So we're talking about female Ho with female Almat. And then we want so remember, we're controlling energy. So on top of that, we're also going to want some stun, because we're controlling energy. We're stunning because you still gain energy when you're stunned. Like if you're getting hit or abilities are being used on you. But if you're being stunned while your energy is being drained, it becomes a whole different scenario. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to pretend that female Akuna is the new chick, basically. Okay, so she's right there. Kojiki. She's the female Kojiki. That's who we're pretending. Okay, cool. We're all in agreement. Now, some other potentials that we could put in here is female Tide Raiser. I will be moving her out of the group that she's in currently. And so maybe putting her with the female Kojiki could be really good, because female Tide Raiser, you want her ult to go off as much as possible. And female Kojiki will be feeding her energy with the active, with the Cyclone, and with the ultimate. So I would say female Tide Raiser is a great combination, because also you get that stun. And here's the best part. Female Tide Raiser, here we go. There we go. She pulls in an enemy, potentially 2, And then you have, let's just say, these three enemies. This guy runs up here. This one kind of more runs up right here in the middle. And then female Tide Raiser pulls that one in. So you have three people here. And then you have these two right here. So that's 5. So she's going to drop the Cyclone whoosh, whoosh, right here. And it's going to, remember, it reduces the enemy's, I forgot. Let's look at it real quick. Sorry, everybody. But we want to stay on top of what's going on here. We're still learning this clan, so we want to get it right. So the Cyclone lasts 3 seconds. Allies restore 70 energy per second. So that could potentially be 210 energy back for female Tide Raiser, which is huge. And 210 energy for female Almat, which is important because remember, she's going to have pure heart. She's going to have female Ho energy. You want her just using her ult as soon as possible because it's going to add an extra 60 energy drain from this woman's ult. And I think it's just going to be such a great pairing. And then remember, enemies take 160% of the caster's strength per second. And so it mostly just does damage to the enemies. And then it drops amplifier orbs. So if we get a few more orbs there, that is really beneficial to us. So let's get back to our team that we're building here. Sorry, I should have saved it, but I was too excited. So female Tide Raiser, and remember, female Akuna is basically our female Kojiki. So we got female Almat, and remember, female Almat is in the P1 position because we want her getting the female Ho buff that gives plus 250 energy, and it also gives plus attack speed. And then it also gives plus health, HP. So the female Almat, who's also kind of taken some damage being in the P1 position, most enemies will focus that first. And so we're just kind of giving her an extra oomph because we're going to load female Almat with offensive traits in this build-up. Because remember, the rest of the team right now is mostly control. There's no real crazy damage going on right now. All right, so for the last spot, what are we going to need? We're probably going to need some damage because we got the female Kojiki. She does random damage. It's kind of like a female Silken ult where she throws the 6 random webs at people. It's not very reliable. But the female Kojiki one, it not only does damage to the enemy, but it also drains their energy. So we're basically saying female Kojiki is purely utility, or that's what I'm making the call as. So we're going to move her over here. And then you know what? Let's go ahead and take a risk because I have no team for the female Goldtongue. And I've always wanted to get her involved. And so let's talk about this team a little bit. Female Almat is going to do so much individual damage. It's going to be nuts. And then remember, female Kojiki reduces control effects. One of female Almat's biggest weaknesses is control. If you control female Almat, she can't use her active. She can't use her ultimate. She has no way to break out of that stuff. So another potential for female Almat is male Esterir, whose ultimate will make it where they become immune to control effects for 8 seconds, the 2 people with the lowest con. So that could also be a potential male Esterir. We could use male Esterir, since we have the female Goldtongue also draining energy, we could maybe use the male Esterir instead of our tank. And with this, he would be putting immunity on female Almat for 5 seconds with his active. He'll potentially be putting immune to control effects with his ultimate. And how I have him set up with Dutiful, every time he dies, he gives the whole team energy. So that just adds on to the energy that they're getting from the female Kojiki. So, oh, this is looking so good. But honestly, I like the female Tide Raiser idea a little bit more because she's pulling people in. And with my other team, my control team, I'm replacing female Tide Raiser with female Bjorn Krieger. And because they both have the pool, but I feel female polar bear is a bit more offensive, which I need for that team. And then this team, this has plenty of offense and control, so female Tide Raiser is going to do really well. Also, the only healing that I really have in this team is female Almat's passive is going to heal her. Female Ho's ultimate's going to heal the team. Her passive's going to heal the female Almat. Female Tide Raiser has her passive that absorbs skills and kind of gives her a little mini heal each time she gets hit by skills. Female Gold Tongue only has her steadfast. She doesn't have, and it's only level 18. So she doesn't have many defensive abilities if they have a back row attacker. That's another reason why we like the female Tide Raiser, because we have the stun to potentially help out that female Gold Tongue who's going to be in trouble. Female Ho's going to help the female Gold Tongue, and the female Gold Tongue is just going to be doing what she needs to be doing, which is reducing enemy energy from afar. And that's really cool because now I have most of the energy drainers are all melee. And I will have the 2 ranged energy drainers on this team. So female Kojiki is going to be using her ult. And since I'm stacking the enemy up on my team relatively, that's going to work really well. She's also going for her Cyclone. She's going to get the High Spirited from the female Ho. And so that, therefore, her active, the Cyclone, will do a little bit more damage to the enemy. And, you don't really need the strength for the scaling of female Almat's passive, because it's times 15 of her strength. If you have a lot of celestial bonds, that's never going to be the limiting factor. The limiting factor is going to be the max con of any enemies you're up against. So, and then don't forget, we have female Ho's active, which is going to be preventing the enemy from, like, say, the male Water and Sun from ulting. That'll be helpful. Female Tide Raiser could stop the male Water and Sun. And then since I want the female Almat's ultimate to be going off all the time, and I think it's a 7 or 8 second duration, I am going to be just trying to get that ultimate off. So Pure Heart, she's going to have so much attack speed from the female Ho. Like, this team synergizes really well. Maybe the only thing that I would potentially do different is bring the female Gold Tongue up to the P1 position so that she ends up getting the attack speed from the female Ho. Because right now, the only attack speed she's going to get is from the Agile and Rapid Shot. And you just want her going off like a machine gun, because every attack drains. Let's see how much it drains. But by the way, that team is looking solid. We'll talk about traits real quick after I find out what this Gold Tongue thing is going on here. I'm happy I didn't take away her vigor. So she's got 3.6 million, which is nice. Strength. Here's what I have on her. Agile, just trying to get her to attack as fast as possible. Of course, the brutal, because she goes off her auto attacks. Well, now, since we have the female Shun, the Shun trait, and then I'll have Furious Thunderbolt this next intimacy cycle at level 18. So since she's mostly auto attacks, I could put Furious Thunderbolt on her, take off maybe aggressive. I had it on there to help with her steadfast, but maybe with the female Ho and the and all the energy drain that we'll have going, maybe we can keep her from going down with just the steadfast. So Furious Thunderbolt, brutal, fierce is nice because you're really trying to crank out that damage, especially with the Furious Thunderbolt. She already has her agile, so we don't really have any. Maybe the only other thing I might think of is Harsh Rhyme, the Akuna clan trait, so that you can prevent healing. because that's one problem we're going to have is preventing healing. But if we drain all their energy, we shouldn't have to worry technically about the healing. And by the way, look at all this fodder I have. I have Steadfast on so many champs. It's nice having all that fodder to be able to transfer traits onto them. So just ahead, if you haven't seen my advanced marriage video, it's very helpful, kind of letting you know about some of that, why I keep what I keep and whatnot. All right, so let's talk about traits, baby. Let's talk about you and me, you know. All right, roster 22, let's look at it. I don't want to put any group buffs on the female Goldtongue because I want her pure damage. The female Ho, I already have hulking, cunning, rapid shot. She has high spirited. And then the last thing I have on her is brutal. Because remember, as I've spoken about in Anonymous School of Strategy, female Ho has plenty of defense through her passive. 9 blocks is very awesome in this game. And so I basically use her as a buff mule. And with that being said, all we really need is a sanguine, because she, again, has cunning, hulking, high-spirited, and rapid shot. So maybe on the female Tide Razor, we could put a sanguine on her. I got my sanguine at level 22. Or we could put a sanguine on the new female Kojiki as a team buff. So she could always hold a team buff. You have to decide if you want her damage. I need to see how many orbs go on the field and how much damage she actually does. But if you want her damage, then you're going to need to put a brutal on her. And you're going to need to probably put an honorable on her just to make sure she survives. You could also just, since we only have one source of healing really. Oh yeah, she's putting on a shield. So max health. Potentially an energetic, so you might not even need to do honorable. You might just be able to do an energetic because she's going to have a shield that goes heavily off all those orbs and everything. Let's think. She's using her ult a whole lot. She's gaining energy herself, so she doesn't really need any crazy energy gain. You want her ult to go off really fast, so you could potentially put a pure heart on her. Because once her ult goes off, that really gives you control of the battle. And remember, our plan is to have female Almat's ult go off as soon as possible. And that's really going to be quick in this group because you have the female Ho's passive with the attack speed. You have female Almat with rapid shot and agile and pure heart. So she should technically just gain energy and attack super fast. And then don't forget, her active also reduces enemy energy by like 120, I believe. So if you add the extra 60, that's 180 each beam. So that's 360 total energy reduced. You have the reduction from female Goldtongue. You have the reduction from female Kojiki. And so female Amat's ult is so imperative in this group. That's what we're shooting for. Like, we figure female Almat's ult will give us enough protection until female Ho can use her ult and give everybody health and, further protection. But female Almat will not only give us protection from male Water and Sun and Phoenix, but also female Almat will add that plus 60 energy drained per energy drain. And so this is so perfect because most champs use energy drain on their normal attack, and it was like 120 or 100 or 80, and then they would get the boost, which is real nice. But with this, each one is 40. And so you get an extra 60 each, so it makes each orb that hits an enemy drain 100 energy. That's so good. So I'm probably going to be going for the female. I have enough shards to be able, I think, a 461, because we didn't have a summons, a new one for a couple weeks or something. So I'll be going for this clan. They'll probably have a mask. I don't have enough mage fodder, I think, to go for the mask, so I'm not going to try to be ambitious. But I'll get the companion. I'll probably work the male up too. He seems like an amazing support champ. And in my teams, I need more support champs. So, oh yeah, we were talking about traits. So you could probably put a group buff on her. You don't need her to attack faster. So maybe energetic because her shield. Energetic, brutal, steadfast, honorable. I think that sounds good. It'll give her enough survivability that she'll be up constantly using her utility, giving more energy to your team. And the more energy your team has, the better damage. Like, look at female Goldtongue. Her ult, if you get that to go off and all the enemies have low energy, that'll blast the heck out of them. And it hits the whole team, too. Female Tide Raisers hits the whole team. Yeah, and female Kojikis is kind of random, but it hits just everybody. So, oh, God, that team looks so good. Again, I would put a couple buffs on female Tide Raiser. I'd put all damage on female Almat, except for Pure Heart. The rest is damage. So, Brutal, Furious Thunderbolt, and Agile. I think that's what I would put on her. That'll make her the most effective, I think. But remember, she won't have any defensive capabilities, so that's why you need her ult to go off really quick to protect you from Male Water and Sun and other ultimate attacks, which would pretty much be the only thing that could hurt her bad. You just need to have her live long enough for female Ho to put her ult on the entire team. And then you're getting fed the whole time energy by female Kojiki. So think of that. Female Tide Raiser, energy, yes please. Faster ultimate, yes please. Female Ho, faster ultimate, yes please. We need that energy. Female Ama, yes, ultimate. We need that more than anything. Female Goldtongue, we need her ultimate to be going off more, to be doing group AoE damage. And then that female Kojiki, her ult is ultra important to go off too, just because it feeds your team energy, if I recall. Yes, and then takes it away from the enemy. So, oh, this is going to be such a cool team. I can't wait. Oh, this is going to be so exciting. I'll try to get a video out as soon as possible. I think I'm going to try to get them to 15 stars if I can. It'd be nice to get a mask. Okay, so let's think about the male again. Male is a healer buffer, and he focuses on one person in the back row to be able to buff up. So who's one of the best people that we want more damage with and faster attack speed? Romulus! Yeah, so I think that's a good combination. So let's pretend that the male Kojiki is the male Ho in this case, okay? So he's going to be buffing either the P4 or P5 position, and so put Romulus in whatever position that is, okay? So also remember, his active does a shoot ton of damage. It does a 5-second. So let's put the Kojiki in the back. Because remember, he does have a couple defensive capabilities as well. Let's use a Mel Askavarg. I really like Mel Askavarg with Romulus. Mostly because Mel Askavarg will charge in. He charges in, bunches the enemy up. Romulus uses his active, which hits the entire team. And the one thing you don't realize about the Romulus active, not only does it do a ton of damage, which I talked about in my Romulus video, but it also adds to the damage taken of the enemy team by a significant amount too. And he uses it so fast, especially with running up with Mel Askavarg. So in this example, we all run up the whole team. Mel Askavarg is in there. And then Romulus uses his active like right off the bat. So now any extra damage or more damage from any of your team's actives is going to do an increased percentage to the enemy. Ta-da! Now we talk about the male Kojiki active. Remember, for everybody, it does 2 circles. 1 circle on him, 1 circle on the enemy. And for the furthest enemy. And so if male Askavarg is up there in the enemy team, the male Kojiki's active is going to be centered on the entire enemy's team. And get this, the male Romulus's active is going off, so they all take more damage. And remember, we said it's 750% strength damage over 5 seconds of every enemy that's in there. And they're taunted by the male Askavarg's charge. So they're all going to be in there for a second, and perfect time to silence every one of them. So none of them are using actives, hopefully, because your male Kojiki just silenced the entire enemy team. And your Romulus dealt a ton of damage to him. The male Kojiki just did a ton of damage to him, so we're already looking pretty good. So let's save this roster. And then we've already got our group lineup, our synergy, pretty exciting right now. I hope this helps you all, by the way. And then, oh yeah, we're going back to the male Kojiki real quick. And let's look at the active. So, enemy, they take the 750 over 5, and then they're silenced. Oh yeah! Allies within it have their damage dealt increased by 20%. Now, your Romulus isn't going to be there in our example. So the Romulus isn't going to be charging in there to get his damage increased by 20%. That's a major bummer, but it's okay because our 2 other slots on the team, we are going to do fast damage dealers that are up in the enemy's grill. So in this case, I will definitely want to use a male Segarak, because male Segarak will attack once or twice, and then he'll use his active. And hopefully he does it after the Romulus active, so everybody takes more damage from the charge, which does % max health damage. So good. So we got the male Segarak there. And then, you know what? Let's go with another... this is going to be gross. I'm sorry, everybody, that I had to do this. Male SK. Let's go with it. Let's do it. So he gets in there on the enemies. He uses his aura, his active, because male Eskavarg just went in and taunted everybody. Now, male SK's aura is hitting 2 or 3 people, hopefully all 5 people. And not only is it getting amplified by Romulus's active, but it's reducing any early healing. So anybody with an active that heals or a passive that heals or lifesteal, it's completely nullifying that. And so, not to mention, when he ults, it's basically cleanup job. Now, let's talk about this synergy a little bit more. I'm going to just save it real quick, and then I'm going to come back into it. So this is an ultra fast damage attack, but here's the best part. We also get some healing from our new champ that we're going to be adding to the team. And the best part about that is, let's look at his healing again. For 4 seconds, 60% max constitution. How much does male Askavarg have? Like 200 million? 60% of that is 120 million that this guy will heal to male Askavarg over 4 seconds. That's insane to me. Also, you could put a little bit of health on your male Segarak or your male SK if you want. It wouldn't hurt anything, and then this guy would just heal them even more. So it's unaffected by any debuff, but is affected by recovery prevention effects. And I think what they mean by that is, think of male Askavarg when he uses his ult and he becomes immune. Well, this guy can't heal him through that. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of what they're trying to prevent, I think. I'm going to try it. I'm going to test it. While channeling, the champion becomes immune to control effects and the damage take is reduced by 40. So, while this guy's ult is going off, not only is he healing our very, very heavy attack team and quick DPS team, but he is immune to, no one can interrupt it. He's taking less damage, so if any of the enemies are in the back row trying to bring him down, he's able to finish his ult. So, we've increased the damage dealt by 20% to our frontliners up there. So, our male SK, it would have been nice to have strength for him, but still, dealing extra 20% damage with his aura is really nice. It's very helpful. There could be better options, but I like the male SK because I need to find a home for him, and this is going to probably allow me to do that. So I'm really looking forward to this champ. And then remember, the Draft of Camaraderie. It links up with your Romulus. Both of them get attack speed by 30%. Awesome. And by the way, I'll be putting Brutal on this guy because I want to see how well his active does when the entire enemy team's bunched up. It's just like the Romulus active. If everybody's bunched up, it could potentially rock them. And then everyone gets extra 20% damage dealt. So that's the Segarak, Askavarg, and the male SK. And so get this. So not only are my melee guys getting that damage increase by 20% from the active, well, he's given 25% damage increase to the Romulus. And come on, Romulus already does so much damage. He tops the charts in any match where he's allowed to go free. And with this, he gets an extra 30% attack speed on top of 25% extra damage. Can you imagine that on Romulus? Oh, he's going to be so good. Not to mention he's getting heals, so if there is someone attacking your back line, Romulus can use his ult to fear him, and then he's getting the heal from this male Kojiki's ultimate. So when the champion heals, the linked ally will also receive 30% of the healing amount, meaning when this guy uses his ultimate, guess who's getting that extra 35% of this guy's ultimate? So 35% of 60% is going to be a shoot ton. The linked ally will also receive 35% of the healing amount. The recovery effect is normal healing. When the linked ally dies, he transfers it. So he's making Romulus super strong. He's making your front row stronger, your melee, and he's doing a shoot ton of damage while silencing them. So great utility and healing. I really like this guy, and I think for our group that we've put together, I think he's going to do fantastic. Now again, there's other champs you could use in that. If you don't have a male SK, or even if you want to use male Corbett, like let's look at this again. You could just as easily use a male Corbett. Who else that's a really good assassin? Male Bloom. You could use a male Bloom in there. That would work. Any assassin that kind of just works them into the back row. Honestly, Scarlet would be fantastic. Scarlet adds utility while as long as she's up on top of the enemy, she does so much damage with her active and her ult. It's crazy. And you know, her feathers will be reducing enemies' attack speed, so it just allows everyone to stay up a little bit longer from those normal attacks. So that could be a really good option. I'm not doing that because I have my timeout team, and I only have 3 sets of mythic Bloodcraft gear, and the 3rd set's not even done. It's missing the crown. And so that goes on to my timeout team, which has this bad boy, Ashmane. And so really, my Scarlet's the only Bloodcraft that I don't have gear on. So I would probably rather have Scarlet than the male SK. But for who I have and what I have here, I think this is going to be pretty nice. I'm seeing, another option would be Mel Shun. He's perfect for that slot. Because remember, he's doing max health damage, and he does a lot of AoE with his ultimate. So if they're all stacked up on Male Askavarg, Mel Shun's a great option as well. Don't forget, he's also doing 20% extra damage dealt. And when you do 20% of what you do from the max health of the enemy, it's quite significant. So actually, Mel Shun, I might actually do in this team instead of the Mel SK. I'll do the Mel SK with the Mel Lume in a video or something. But yeah, this is the team I would go with right here. Now let me talk about some of the synergies. And we'll talk about who's going to carry your team buffs. So right now, I have level 22 Cunning on my male Askavarg. I have level 22 Sanguine on my male Askavarg, as well as Impair. So I have a nice, he's a nice utility tank. He's got energetic. So what I'll need is a hulking and a rapid shot. So I'm going to put hulking, rapid shot, and brutal all on my new healer, as well as I would do steadfast for the shield, but what I'm going to instead do is I think I'm going to go honorable, because remember, he reduces damage when he's doing his ultimate by like 40%. And so if you have that honorable on top of that, he's reducing much. He's going to out heal any damage that's being done. And then remember, he's also going to do the extra healing with Romulus here. So Romulus going to be all. So I'll have the rapid shot, hulking, brutal, and honestly, I think I'll go steadfast on the new guy, because I want to make him black. I'll put it in the clan trait, probably the steadfast. So steadfast first, and then I'll do rapid shot and hulking, and then brutal. Ooh, I don't think I could do that, because to have 3 clan traits all brought over, you have to have at least one common, one green of one of those to be able to do the transfer correct, and I don't think I have that. So we might have to change that up a little bit. I might end up putting rapid shot on one of my DPSers here, even though I don't really want to do that. Nope, I won't. So I won't be using steadfast. I'll have to use honorable. That makes my decision for me. So it'll be for the male, it'll be steadfast, hulking, because hulking helps him, and rapid shot doesn't really help him as much. Oh, sorry, I'm not using steadfast. So rapid shot, I'll give him the horns. Rapid shot, hulking, and then brutal and honorable. That's for him. And remember, for the female, if I'm putting her in this lineup that I have, I'm probably going to just make her very defensive. I'll probably go steadfast, brutal. She doesn't need to carry any team buffs, because between the female Tide Raiser and the female Hoe, I have all the team buffs taken care of. So I'll probably do steadfast, brutal, honorable, energetic. Just make her a very surviving, a very helpful, because again, she has just so much utility. That's all you got to consider with her. It's really good. And since she's going to have brutal anyways, you might as well throw steadfast on her. Might make her really nice. And then your whole back line will have steadfast with the female gold tongue and her. And then you'll also have plenty of survivability with the rest of your champs too. So those are my 2 teams. Those are the traits that I propose for these champs. And here's another great part about this clan, the Kojiki clan. Kojiki, kakakaka, is they're mages. So all your fantastic mage guardian stones, which you could see I have the most in mage than any class, they're all going to be applied to this new class, which is awesome. Also, remember, we're releasing a new mage. So if you recall, one of the female Dawnbreaker's abilities, her passive, is that if the enemy has like 2 mages or something like that, or a mage on the team, that the female Dawnbreaker gains a great, I think, a lot of strength resistance or something. So consider female Dawnbreaker being usable during this period of a mage release as well. I think this is going to go really well. They're probably going to do a mask event with it. I hope they do another deep sea delve soon, because as you can see, I've been saving my diamonds on my account. Really excited about that. As soon as these champions get released, I'll go ahead and summon on them, and I will get a video knocked out for you. I'm going to try my hardest to max the female, and then I'll give the male anything left over. But I do have 100 bouquets right now, and 103. So I could potentially just spend them all on mages to try to get this champ max, which I'll probably do. It's just a bummer because I wanted those for the marriage challenge, but I'm just gonna cry. Nah, but yeah, it should be a good time. Get ready for this champ. Write in your comments what you think, if you prefer the male or the female. Do you have any groups that you would put these in, like 1 through 3? What are your thoughts on the synergies? Like, did you see a synergy or a champ that would just really make these champions pop? Post in the comments, like this video. Subscribe if you want to get my new ones when they come out, especially once I release this new Kojiki clan breakdown and gameplay video. But yeah, hit me up with all that stuff. And if also, if you're in Discord, send me a Discord friend invite or hit me up and we could talk about your teams. I like to do a lot of team building on there and help out the community. So if I have some time, then I'll try to help out. All right, this is Gnome. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Peace.